Kalimera, Kalispera, and that is the sum total of my Greek knowledge. I'm Simon Keane-Cowell, as 𝗦𝗽𝗲𝗿 kindly pointed out. I'm editor-in-chief at Architonic, and I'm very happy to be here in Athens at the Architect Show. Full disclosure, it is 25 years since I was last in Athens. I mean, that's that's a previous millennium, and so the shame is on me. I think I was slightly traumatized when I was here 25 years ago because it was 42 degrees, and I developed this violent heat rash. And then I went to the pharmacy, and the pharmacy man said, "Oh, can you show me?" And then I undid my shirt. He was like, "Oh no, cover it up, cover it up." He said, "I've never seen anything like that before." But it's great to be here. It's great to see friends in the audience. Ilyas, first of all, thank you so much for the kind invitation to your show and the hospitality from your wonderful team. And Kostas, Kostas Koutsantonakis, my colleague, my Greek colleague here, who, if you don't know him, he's half Greek god, half gangster, and
good combination.
You should know him, but it's not about him. It's about Inge, who's sitting next to me. Just Inge, welcome first of all, and by way of introduction, just a short bit of biography. So Inge is co-founder of the London-based studio Muza Lab, founded in 2016, 17. Mm-hmm. Is that right? They've established themselves as first division creatives for high-end hospitality and residential interiors internationally, including resorts in Saudi and the Maldives, and of course the one and only 𝗦𝗍𝗍𝗿 here on the Athenian Riviera. And you've also worked on super yachts and private chalets. That's not too shabby. Inge.
We have a good life. We have a good life. And lovely clients and locations to go to.
Have you stayed in all of them? I guess you have.
No. We stay in the worst places. We design beautiful things. We finish them and then we leave on to the next one.
Okay, so I can't feel too jealous. Inge, let's start with a kind of macro question, which is for you: what do you see as the kind of key trends in interiors for hospitality?
I think it's about creating experiences. So it's not just about the design anymore. It's about, if you come into the room, what are you going to do there? And it needs to be something different than what you do at home. You know, so kind of creating that experience. So like, is there a special fireplace you can sit at in the garden? Is there an amazing chair, which is a chair to dream in, you know? It's not just a chair, it's like becomes this experience. I think that's really important. I think wellness is becoming more and more important. Everybody's into longevity. It's not just the normal small gym, it's about an amazing gym. It's about having a space for vitamin infusions, oxygen tents, all those kind of things are really on trend. Then also kind of larger travel groups. People don't just travel with like their partners anymore. Lots of people work from home, so now they want to go out together as a group and travel.
And bring pets
and bring
with them.
Pets, partners, children, grandchildren. So it's got how suites and spaces interconnect. So everybody can have their own private space, but still have a great relaxing experience together. It's about the only time you have to bond is when you go on holiday, because lots of people's lives are just so busy. And then there's authenticity, you know. Everybody wants an authentic experience, you know, that's different.
And let's take that as the kind of key focal point for our discussion. I mean, what does authenticity look like and feel like in the context of hospitality spaces? You know, how do you deliver it? Are we talking about does it operate on the level of materiality? We often talk about, for example, storytelling as well within interior architecture. How do we create that? What does it mean to you, and what's the process for you?
I think those storytelling, materiality, it all goes hand in hand. It's like taking a project in the beginning and then really, like, what is going to be the soul of this project? What's going to be that red line that ties it all together? And it's not just one thing, because there's so many spaces. So, like for the one in Only Athens, it's like the local stone, it's the color of the sky, it's the kind of beautiful light in Greece, it's like patterns. And taking all those elements together and also creating them into something that's new. I think authenticity is also not to repeat, but keep on creating new, different spaces.
It also, I guess, means a lot of research and a dialogue with the particular culture of the location. I mean, there has to be some kind of contextualization, doesn't there?
Absolutely.
Otherwise, you could be anywhere in the world. You could be a resort, but you could be anywhere in the world.
I think that's how hotels started, just being this kind of bland box everywhere,
right.
And it's kind of evolved to being of the place. And I think that's what I really love, is kind of meeting with the local people, seeing the stone, and also make great friendships that way,
Right. Can you tell us a bit about before we look at some of the project images, tell us about the actual kind of process there. So, I mean, because you describe yourselves as a laboratory. I mean, that notion of the lab, of research, of experimentation, and so on, is built into the name of your studio. How do you do that? So, if you win a competition, how do you?
We do a lot of
design
research. So we'll really research. Materiality, history. Are there some wonderful myths or kind of stories about the region? What happened there, the history, and just weave that together and create and build a narrative. And I think it's really, a laboratory was a good word for me, because you have to take things and you measure them, and it's enough, it's not enough, and kind of to get exactly the right balance, because it also mustn't be kind of kitsch or.
Because this is the danger, isn't it? That you fall into sort of
you don't want to repeat
pastiche.
Something, yeah. You want to kind of create like an elegant version of a local flavor.
And do you have materials in mind at the start, or what is the point of departure for you in terms of a design scheme?
I love very textural materials, so I'm all about the materiality. So I'd start off every project with just kind of walking on site and gathering the stones,
Right.
the plants, and that kind of builds almost a palette. So in my office, I've got like lots of boxes of little different site locations, and I think that's where we start off, and then kind of finding things that enhance it, that work with it, that blend with it. We design lots of custom fabrics. So find a pattern, weave it up with somebody, and that's how we roll.
So let's jump into the Athens project. And you can take control of the images there.
Back here.
Yeah, I think this will
Let me go
work.
right back to the beginning.
And maybe you can walk us through the project.
Okay. I think one of the main things in Athens, we had like a certain block that wasn't that very big. And to make the space feel larger, we created like a front garden and a back garden. And the inside and outside space needed to just flow like one. So the outside was dressed as well as the inside. We took a lot of the natural stone that came from the outside in, all the wonderful, terrazzo patterns. We worked with a fantastic local Greek art consultant, but also introducing things that maybe were a bit of a struggle for the Greek team initially, like the mirror at the top around the room. where that brings in reflection and light. But it was a bit of an unusual material, but it works really, really well. Having big, free, open cupboards. The bathrooms, you know, you have amazing stone and Greek, so really using those. And I like this elevation because it illustrates nicely how the room is almost the same size as the front garden and the back garden. And you just create this wonderful big space. You know, we're talking about creating experiences like a day bed that's like hidden in the garden where you have special moments, beautiful textures, and spaces where, you know, the operating team as well can create special moments for the guest. Styling it so it feels residential, you know, books, artifacts. Setting up a beautiful bar in the villas. The mini bar with the kind of the reflection, the mirror, the glamour, bringing in the nostalgia of the site and of the location.
Are you sourcing in your materials as locally as possible?
We do, yes. I think as much, and it's not just the hard materials, but it's also like fabrics, furniture. Not only does it kind of connect to the site, but it's also environmentally much friendlier solution than carting things from China, which we hate doing.
Do you think authentic spaces make for sustainable spaces?
Absolutely, absolutely.
How so?
Because the footprint, you know, is local. It's not, you know, put on a ship, put on a plane, carried around the world. So, and it also involves the community, the local community much better. You know?
Absolutely beautiful. And there's, I mean, really, there's you can see from these images that there's a deep consideration of the optical tactility of
what the guest touches and feels is really, really important.
But almost we feel, first of all, with our eyes before we've actually kind of laid hands or materials have touched our bodies. And you see this in your work. There's a lot of visual texture going on.
Good. Then we've got the big suites at the One and Only, which have got the most amazing pools.
And this opened this. Sorry, my microphone is doing funny things.
Oopsie.
This opened this year, did it?
It did. It opened, I think, late last year. It was kind of a soft opening. So.
Right. Have any of you actually been there? Been to One and Only 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏? Are you a regular? Oh,
there we go.
Ilias, of course.
Cool.
And someone over there.
Okay.
Every time I talk to you or email with you, you're always somewhere else. It's incredible. So, I mean, the last email I sent to Inge, she was like, "Hi, I'm in Madagascar today." It's like a James Bond film, every location. But this is these locations are incredible, and they must give you.
Well, there's so much inspiration to draw.
Right, exactly.
I think lots of designers have got a very specific style because they work in one location. Whereas because we work in so many different locations, we adapt our style to the location, to the building.
Right.
And draw inspiration from that. You know, we found this wonderful tree that made the bar. So we really try and bring in the local elements.
Fantastic.
What I also wanted to show you now is this project in Saudi Arabia that has just opened. It's built in the middle of the desert, and it's kind of like its own ecosystem in the middle there, where there's the oasis. And that's the Sunset Restaurant with just amazing views out into the desert. There's also lots of, you know, practical concerns. Things need to be able to tolerate each environment.
Right.
You know, And here, the kind of the local patterning, the wood carving. This is a subterranean spa. It's like a stone wall with plaster, but it looks like a curtain. And here we were inspired by like the nomadic travelers, but bringing in all the kind of detail of the old woven tapestries. We've got amazing pools, but unfortunately the sand blows in them all the time, so they've become a real problem. We cut buckets and buckets of sand. Something you wouldn't have thought of before. Another suite with a different like ceiling canopy, the larger suites of big indoor, outdoor experiences. So it's always about creating these moments. And I think that's what really, gives you authenticity.
And creating memories as well for the user.
We also want people to have fun wherever they go. So the kind of whimsical moments, things that make you smile, I think are really important.
What strikes me is each of these projects, the quality of the light is different, of natural light. And therefore this has an impact on the design of these spaces, on the materials that you're using, to how they work with light there on site, how reflective or not reflective they are, for example.
Light is super important. Here in Greece, you have some of the most beautiful light in the world. The light in Saudi is very, very hard, but at different times of day, it's also really beautiful. So it's about finding the beauty, in every location. But also, all these different cultures are really interesting. Here we've got all plaster walls, the recessed bath, the indoor-outdoor showers here, looking out at the desert, like an amazing oasis garden with the kind of more nomadic seating there. So the furniture styles adapt to each location.
At what point in the project timeline are you actually brought in, or are you there from the start? Are you working hand in hand with the architects?
We work hand in hand with the architects. We very much help shape the spaces. I think because if you've given a box, you have to use it from the inside and not from the outside.
And there's a genuine dialogue between the...
There's a genuine dialogue between us. It's not always an easy dialogue, but there's a genuine dialogue.
Well, we all know architects.
Kind of textured furniture that's got, the sand patterns that are used here, moments of chairs. And again, the retail, where we've taken the roots. So those are not trees that were killed. They're actually trees that die, and then we dig out the roots and make tables out of them. And just this most amazing desert, and that also kind of then creates the palette. Beautiful. I started that project during lockdown, so we couldn't travel there, so they sent me a bottle of sand. And the color of the sand of the desert, it's almost like a reddy brown rather than like a yellow sand. And this is the kind of the central oasis, which has almost created a microclimate. You can find little butterflies and birds in the central, then that go out into this vast desert that surrounds you. The ceiling treatment, very soft. Acoustics is always important in a room, so kind of the balance between soft and hard.
Acoustics are often considered too late, right? Still, we know this from... obviously a lot of architects here. I don't know how much, when you were training, how much, study and research you did into acoustics, but there are a whole load of companies that manufacture acoustic elements for interior spaces to correct the lack of consideration that's been that we see in terms of and the prime example for me is, I hate to say this, but is Peter Zumthor's thermal baths in Val, which photograph absolutely beautifully, but and
It's very hard.
Very hard, and you know, it's kind of it's almost like a sacred space with all that kind of naked slate, bare slate. But it's so hard in acoustic terms. If there are more than 50 people in the baths, it turns into creates this cacophony, which actually works against the feeling of well-being that you're there to try and achieve. So yes, we have time for. Oh, I'm just looking at the clock. We have time to look at one last project, Inge.
So I'd like to also show the Royal Monsieur 𝗬𝗬𝗿, which just opened, and I want to go back to when we got to site. There were just these amazing shells on site, more than I've ever seen anywhere else. So that totally inspired us. And when you walk into the lobby, we've created the central room, which all the walls are covered in shells that we picked up from the beach in front of the site.
Wow.
So they're not brought from anywhere else, and then did kind of Moroccan rug patterns from the Rift Mountains, because it's right between the Rift Mountains and the ocean on the Mediterranean Sea. So that's just a beautiful, beautiful space. And all from, you know, just from the sight of the sea there. That is the view of the Rift Mountains on the one side that you'll see from the bar. And then this project is all about very kind of soft plasters, the stone. We wanted it to feel Mediterranean because it's right in the north of Morocco, and that was initially the Romans ruled it, so there were lots of mosaics there. So all the floors are also done in mosaic.
Fantastic.
So bringing in the local artifacts, the pots from the Rift Mountains, lots of very kind of Moroccan fabrics, textured, colored accent tabletops. And then some amazing kids club, you know, if your kids are happy, the family is happy. So kind of really creating spaces where you can leave your kids and the parents can go to the bar and connect. They have a very big Medi spa where they do all these special treatments. They've got thalassa pools. And there it was we took the garden in. So we have this ivory sand-colored palette. But again, you know, the theme for the shells, the water, and bringing the greenery in as an accent. We've got over the pool this amazing big moon installation that reflects in the pool. And the pool water is actually pumped from the sea, so it's like a sea water in the pool.
Oh, beautiful.
The screens. You can see the mosaics in the one thing, and then the collection. You need to layer the interiors. So it's kind of rugs and fabrics and plaster, beautiful shadows. Oops. Local art, you know, the lampshades. And the furniture is very kind of woven texture. We wanted to feel very resort-like, but still be very, very sophisticated for that market. The guest rooms.
This light is incredible.
It's just on the other side of where we are now, and the light is absolutely exquisite. You know, the detailing, a beautiful curved stair. I love curved stairs. You often find them in my projects. You know, the metal and the timber, contrasting materials. And this is like the bar with that beautiful view out. And you've got these Moroccan jewelry that we found, and we've put it all around the room to kind of create this intimate, like screened interior. And then the all-day dining. We've got an Italian chef, so it's kind of very fresh. We did this beautiful mural of a garden that we had commissioned like a massive tiled wall. So we love working, with artists, with makers, with materials, and really embedding ourselves in the culture and traditions of each country. You can smell that fresh pizza oven.
Fantastic, Inge. I mean, this is the level of the consideration, the detail is really something special. And you guys seem to have an ability to compose in a way that is not, there's no overload, and yet there is this kind of continual richness. And I guess if you stay in spaces like that, there's always something to kind of new that you see and to discover. I want to, in the last few minutes, just offer it over to our dear audience here. If you have a question or two to Inge. I mean, she has so much experience and a team in delivering these types of projects. What do you think of the work? Is there anything you want to ask her about a particular project or about the process? Do not be shy. Kostas, you look like you have a question. I can see it fermenting on your lips. Do we have a microphone for the audience at all? 𝗦𝗲𝗿𝗏𝗏?
As we saw in your presentation and through your website, you are dedicated to the hospitality industry, let's say.
A bit louder, Kostas.
Yeah. What is the difference of creating such experiences and scenography in a hospitality project with any other project? What are the similarities and the difference on approaching? Why a studio that has, and you personally, by having so great experience in the hospitality project, is distincting your office from another office that do not have so much experience in hospitality sector, but in any other sectors?
That's a good question.
I think we're very lucky to work in hospitality because hospitality is such a great industry. It's got interesting people, it's got interesting locations, and it's also about more of a team. We do actually do quite a bit of residential as well, but residential is more, it's about the one person. Whereas if you work in hospitality, there's many parties involved, and I think that always brings a very good energy to the project. And you take a bit from everybody, and it's, it's a great collaboration. And I think the world is going more collaborative. There are lots of, all the big brands are collaborating, but the hospitality industry has always done that. So, it's the operators, it's the owners, it's the site, it's the designers, it's the architect, and it's like taking a bit of everybody, but the right bits, and then creating the resort.
I mean, the stakes are also, I can imagine it's more stressful as well. The stakes are higher because there are more stakeholders involved. But also, these are spaces that need to, there's a refinement to what we're seeing here, and this tactility and this textural, but at the same time, these are spaces that have to be robust. And nothing can fail.
No,
I mean, you have to. And so this is, when it comes to, Inge, you and your team specifying a particular product, you have to be certain that it's going to...
We need to make sure it works, make sure people can't slip there or hurt themselves. So, it's a responsibility.
It's a huge responsibility. And this is where the certification behind products...
And that's why we've got such a close collaboration with all our suppliers.
Right.
The suppliers stand right behind us, and I've got amazing suppliers, that help make the projects.
I mean,
that's what's so nice about the hospitality industry is that it's a big team. And we all work together to the goal of creating these places where people go and have their special moments with their families or friends. Moments to remember forever. That's where you...
One last question if we have time. Yes, great. Oh, Kostas, now you're on camera.
Hello.
Famous at last.
I want to congratulate for the beautiful work we've seen.
Thank you. Thanks.
And I'm an architect, so I'm from another discipline. But what I want to ask you is, so a young interior designer comes into your practice to work for the first time. And my question is, how can that young interior designer develop a sense of his own and develop himself into, getting his work at this level after finishing his or her studies? What is it required? Is it traveling? Is it coming into exhibitions like this and getting informed on the new materials? What is it, in your opinion, the most important gift he should do to himself in order to evolve?
First, I really believe in education. So we take in lots of young students as interns, to kind of nurture them and kind of train them. And I think it's twofold. It's like some people just have the knack and it comes to them easily and others don't, Yes, you
So
need
it's a talent.
you need the AutoCAD, you need to know the materials, but it's also being open to learn and being open to travel and look at things, When designers in my office just sit in the office and look at, the computer, I said, no, go out, go to the, the best hotels, go have a coffee and look and what was the detail on the bar? Go to the toilet, how are the toilets detailed? But don't go to kind of a normal place. Go out of your comfort zone. You don't have to spend a fortune to see these things.
And I'd say also important is to design spaces within a hospitality context that are good for the people who work there as well.
Yeah.
I mean, we forget about this, I think, a lot of the time, that there are people there who are spending far more time than the actual guests, and that these spaces have to be
fun and kind of give them a sense of, I want to go to work every day because it's such a beautiful property to work in.
Right, exactly. I think we've definitely gone over time, but
Okay.
I just want to ask you one last question, Inge, which is so all of these, you're talking about special moments, how do you build special moments into your life? Where do you go to restore yourself?
Oh, we've got a farm in the middle of nowhere in South Africa, and that's where I restore myself, like sitting at a waterfall, reading a book under a tree.
Sounds idyllic. Are we
in the sunshine, because I need sunshine.
Are we all invited to come to the farm?
Of course.
Oh, well,
That'd be lovely.
You heard it here, and she's a woman of her word.
Yes.
Inge Moore from Muza Lab, thank you so much for joining us in
you.
conversation.
Thanks.
It was wonderful, and thanks to you guys for listening.
Thanks for having us. Thank you.